UFC 228, Tyron Woodley beats Darren Till to retain welterweight world title. A talking points. Darren Till was defeated in the second round of his UFC welterweight title fight by Tyron Woodley at UFC 228 on Saturday night. Liverpool's Till looking to make history by becoming only the second British fighter to ever capture UFC gold following Michael Bisping's success at middleweight. But he succumbed to the champion inside 10 minutes as a stunning right hand set up Woodley for a submission finish. Till could now move up to middleweight after struggles with the scales and before recent fights, while Woodley has now made 4 successful defenses of his 170-pound belt. Here are the talking points from the American Airlines Arena in Dallas. Till had the crowd on their feet as he strode out to the sound of Neil Diamond's Sweet Caroline, but as the fight began it was Woodley who started the better as he caught him with a clipping right hand in the first exchange. Little else happened in the opening 5 minutes as both looked to find their range, but in round 2 the fight exploded into action as Woodley leveled Till with a stiff right hand and sent him straight to the canvas. Woodley then pounced, laying in elbows and strikes as Till looked to survive, but with the clock running down in the round the American locked on a Darce submission to force Till to tap out. Till was understandably distraught as Woodley celebrated in the cage and was awarded his black belt by his coach Din Thomas. Speaking in his post-fight interview, Till heaped praise on Woodley and promised to return a better man from the loss and stated he would still come back and fulfill his legacy of becoming the best fighter in the world. The co-main event delivered an unlikely knockout as Jessica Andrade leveled Polish fighter Karolina Kowalkiewicz with a stunning right hand to secure a stunning first-round KO. The Brazilian took control of the fight from the outset and put Kowalkiewicz on the back foot immediately with some fierce strikes against the cage. Kowalkiewicz, to her credit, managed to escape the predicament and land a right hand, but it was only the beginning of the end as the Brazilian stepped in and sent her straight to the mat after landing a powerful right hook to the chin to end the fight. Andrade made exactly the statement she hoped for heading into the bout, and all signs now suggest she will get the next shot at the UFC's strawweight champion Rose Namajunas. Brandon Davis had his work cut out coming into to face hot prospect Zabit Magomedsharipov on short notice. But up until the middle of round 2 he looked to be holding his own against the dynamic Russian. After going back and forth on the feet in the opening few seconds of the second, Magomedsharipov timed a nice trip takedown and took Davis back where he threatened with a rear naked choke. With Davis defending diligently, the Russian then rolled through into a beautiful Siuloev stretch submission and applied the hold for around 5 seconds before getting the tap and the submission victory. Magomedsharipov is a man on the rise in the UFC's featherweight division, and he will no doubt be looking to get a fight rebooked with his original opponent Yair Rodriguez before the end of the year. Tatiana Suarez picked up the biggest win of her career with a dominant victory over former strawweight champion Carla Esparza. Suarez entered the bout just 7-0 as a professional, but she controlled the bout from the opening bell as she utilized her wrestling to totally overwhelm Esparza and take her down to the mat. Esparza did well to stay in the fight for over 2.5 rounds, but with welts all over face Suarez in a dominant position elbowing her in full mount, the referee called mercy and waved the fight off in the 3rd round. The sheer dominance of the win will now put Suarez in the mix of the title talk at 115 pounds. Namajunas will certainly be looking over her shoulder knowing that Suarez is currently on the charge and looking good to claim a title shot in the near future. Aljamain Sterling recorded his second win of 2018 by defeating Cody Stamann via submission on the prelims. Sterling, ranked number 8, knew a win would take him back into contention at the top of the 135 pounds division, but Stamann came into the bout riding a 10-fight win streak and full of confidence with wins over the likes of Brian Caraway and top prospect Tom Duquesnoy in the last 12 months. Both men started the bout by using their footwork to move in and out of range quickly, but it didn't take long for the fight to be taken to the mat where Stamann controlled Sterling in top position as round 1 came to an end. In round 2 the fight again hit canvas, but this time it was Sterling in control and he did well to transition to Stamann's back where he applied a unique full Nelson-like submission hold. After applying the pressure for a few seconds, Sterling then allowed Stamann back to his knees. But as he did, Sterling locked in the first of two super-rare Suloev stretch submissions that night to get the immediate tap. Sterling then celebrated in wild fashion and then proceeded to call out the winner of the John Dodson vs. Jimmy Rivera fight, which Rivera won later in the evening. Darren the Dentist Stewart made it 2 wins in a row in 2018 with a stunning second-round stoppage of Charles Byrd. The Englishman had to weather a few tricky spots in round 1 and Byrd looked to pile on the pressure and punish him with stinging shots to the body and hooks up against the cage, but in round 2 Stewart turned the course of the fight with a short elbow that stunned Byrd and put him on uneasy legs. Stewart then showcased his experience and finished the fighter in incredible fashion by picking his shot and landing another vicious elbow to send Byrd face first to the mat. The referee then dived in before Stewart could punish him with further ground and pound, and the job was done. Stewart then hailed his East London roots afterwards and said that he'd been drilling the fight-ending elbow in the gym in the weeks leading up to the fight. Craig the Thundercat White made quite the statement at the UFC 228 weigh-ins on Friday when he kissed the nose of the legend Diego Sanchez in bizarre fashion. Unfortunately for the Englishman, the disrespect only seemed to rile Sanchez up, and the American controlled the opening 2 rounds of their fight by taking White down and laying in vicious ground and pound to open up cuts across his face. White attempted to rally in round 3 when he dropped Sanchez with a left hand, but the American quickly regained control and spent the rest of the ground in White's guard on the mat working on further ground and pound. Sanchez was awarded the victory via unanimous decision and had his hand raised for the first time since November 2016. White is now 0-2 in the UFC and has no guarantee of getting another shot in the octagon with back-to-back losses. Many thought lightweight legend Jim Miller would call time on his career with a 5th straight loss to Alex White, but as is often is the case in MMA, the narrative didn't play out the way the oddsmakers predicted. Miller took the initiative from the outset and traded hooks with White in the pocket at 2 paces. With White on the back foot, Miller dropped him with a left hand and then forced him down again to the mat with a push. Miller then ended the fight with strikes and a rear naked choke to pick up his first win since November 2016 with the submission. Speaking afterwards and emotional, Miller resisted the urge to cry and let the crowd know that he was still far from finished with his career despite already having fought 43 times as a professional.